My name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. Before we get into some Saints news, some training camp news, and some preseason previews and recaps, I just wanted to say for everyone, if you enjoy this podcast, please follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis, on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion, and on Podomatic at the Who Dat Discussion. Also, please subscribe to us as well on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube at the Who Dat Discussion. And also, please like our videos and leave comments and reviews on there as well. And also, if you like this podcast, please share it. If it's on, YouTube, if it's on Instagram, if it's on Twitter, if it's, to your friends and family that are Saints fans, that would just be really helpful for me, to grow this podcast because we're still only now 9 episodes and, we're not even at the double-digit mark yet. So it'd be really helpful, if we could just, start sharing this podcast and really get it out to a lot of people, even though, it's growing, a ton since it, we've been here 2 months and, you see the amount of, views I've gotten, the amount of subscribers, all that stuff. It's just been, it's warmed my heart for how much people watch this, channel in such an early stage. But, just to, make it even bigger because we are still growing and we're still trying to find our full base of Saints fans. So, if you know people that don't watch the show and, you think would enjoy it, please, share them, this podcast. That would just be really helpful. So with all that said, I think, it's ready to get into some Saints news. So we have a lot of Saints news as, training camp is ramping up, the season's ramping up preseason. We've been through one game and we're ready to get into another one Friday. So I'll just get right into it. So on Sunday, the Saints cut third-year undrafted free agent Davante Harris. He played in 2016 a lot. 2017, after 2 games, we benched him. You know what? And to be quite honest with you, I'm very happy this happened. He got burned a ton on the Saints. Just last year, he started 3 games for the Saints. And, guess what? The Saints lost all 3 of those games. The Saints were 0-3 in those games. Without him starting, we were 11-2. So I think you really see the difference between him playing and not playing. Number one, he gets beat a ton. He has a lot of penalties, holding penalties. And I really got put over the edge was the 2 holding penalties in the first preseason game. That's why the preseason matters because, you could have cuts because of that. He just didn't show enough here. The Bucs picked him right up 2 days later. And, I hope he starts, the first game, against us. So that would be, a little helpful for Drew Brees to pick him apart because he is just, he's just not that good. Something against him, he's undrafted free agent, worked a lot to get, to even start games. But, he'd always be great in practice and training camp, but, in the games he can never translate it. And, that was a huge problem for him. And, I don't think he'll ever really be able to get over that. To me, he would really have to change his whole, way of playing this game if he really wanted to be really good. And maybe, change the scenery, can do that in, Tampa Bay. So that's yet to be seen. But, I think his Saints career was basically, it was over when he got benched last year and, practice squad player for the rest of the year. But, you knew that this day was going to come when he was going to get cut. Also, this move made room for the second Marcus Williams, cornerback Marcus Williams, to get added to the roster as well. And that will transition us into our second piece of news with the Saints signing cornerback Marcus Williams and Robert Nelson. So Williams has 10 career picks in 4 years. So that's a lot. He had 6 in 2015 with the Jets. He had 1 last year with the Texans. He left the Jets to go to the Texans last year mid-year. So he had a great 2015 when the Jets were like 10-6 that year. Then after that, he had a very disappointing 2016, and really in 2017, he was pretty disappointed last year as well. So, here, he's going to get another change of scenery, and really gives him a chance to really show what he's got. And, he's really good depth for us because, he's a ball-hawking cornerback, and he basically replaces Davante Harris, and he's much better than Davante Harris. So I think that's a really good depth piece for us, and I think he's a piece we may keep. He's a good veteran guy in, a very young secondary, so I think we probably should keep him. And then we have Robert Nelson. He has 21 tackles in 2 years with the Texans. But, you just look and he's really been like a special teams guy. And what he's going to, I think, bring to the table is obviously special teams, but also he gets some veteran presence as well, depth, and just see what he's got because he's been on a lot of practice squads. Basically, been on practice squads for 4 or 5 years. So, if he could just, stay if he's on our practice squad, having that depth piece on practice squad player that's been there and done that, I think that's a really valuable piece, especially if a lot of injuries happen. So I think it's a pretty good pickup. So on to our next piece of news is that the Saints were ranked number 3 in ESPN's power rankings and second in the NFC, first in our division. So I think obviously that's that's a really good, and that you just see the expectations that we have. The team does look really good, but they got to block out the hype. That's the number one thing you got to do. You got to work hard, and it seems like they're doing that. It feels like this team has the right chip on their shoulder and attitude to really feel like we didn't really prove a lot last year. We got to prove a lot more this year and win a championship. The whole thing with prove them right. I think that's a really good slogan for this team this year, because a lot of people are picking us to do good, but we got to prove them right. We got to say that they're good, really validate them, because I think that's going to be really helpful. I think that's a really good statement, and it really makes the team really think about we're ready to show a lot of people that why they're right. Not to show them why they're wrong. That's usually the statement and the slogan, but we're going to prove them right. We're going to show that they're correct. And to me, everyone's comparing this team, watch out if it's the 2014, 2017. But the two differences between that team, 2007 and 2014, and this team in 2018 is that those teams they made big free agent splashes coming in. So 2014, we had Bird. We got Jarius Bird. That was our big free agent splash. And I'll just use 2014 as a whole example. We had Bird, Brandon Browner. So all these guys coming off, championship, stuff like that. And Bird, being one of the best safeties in the league. But they couldn't mesh together. There wasn't the right system for, Bird and Browner. So it didn't work out. And, in the offensive, you had a lot of stars in the Eagles class, Jimmy Graham. That's the reason why we traded him. So, you really look at it, and this was a team built on free agency, and it didn't work out, Darren Sproles. But this team is built through the draft. And teams built through the draft, as the Patriots, as, the Eagles, as, any other really good teams, they're built through the draft. That's a long, stable team. That's what we are. We are built through the draft. We have all our stars besides Breeze, who's a free agent signing a long time ago, obviously. But all our other stars are built through the draft. Cam Jordan, Mike Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore, Kamara, all draft players. So, look, as much as I feel like, we didn't get the splash free agency that maybe a lot of people wanted, like the Jimmy Graham or whatever. But, I feel like we got, complementary pieces to these guys, and I think that's much more valuable than getting the free agent splash, and I think that will help us be really good in 2018. So I feel like, all these complementary pieces, although it wasn't the splash that maybe a lot of people wanted, I don't think we needed that, and I think that actually could be worse. Just look at the Rams. I could see the Rams not being as good because they made all these splashes. Let's see how they mesh together. Obviously they could be really good, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see them at 7-9. Or something like that, like we were in 2014, because, sometimes free agents, they just don't work out with other teams. It's not like, basketball where you can just plug guys together and just play. This is a full, it's not a 12-man team. It's, it's a 53-man team. So you need really your team to be well gelled together and just, stuff like that. I feel like this group is so close-knit, and, I feel like they're ready to win. They really feel like they have to prove something, they feel. They don't even feel like, we've done a lot. They are so hungry to win a championship, or at least go to a Super Bowl. I think they're really hungry at that, and I think they can get it done. Obviously the NFC is really good, but just to have a team built that's been through tough times together, not just a free agent superstar team, dream team put together. Those teams don't work out. At the end of the day, they really don't work out. You need a team that's been together, that's built through the draft to have long-standing success, and I think we did that. And I think that was a really good job by Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton, Jeff Ireland to do that. So I really feel like it put us on the right track. It took us out of that cap hell we were in before, and it really put us into a really good spot. So, to be ranked number 3 obviously is all great. No, but this team's got to prove it, and I really think they could. And I wouldn't compare them to 2014 or 2007 where, we were supposed to be really good, didn't have as good seasons, because I think, this team's going to be, they've went through a lot of stuff together, even in 1 year. They started 0-2, they came resilient, had an 8-game winning streak, made it to the playoffs, had a couple really big wins, and then had a really disappointing loss. And they really feel hungry to come back, and I feel like they all worked really hard in the offseason to get that done. And I think they got a good shot at it. If they win the championship, if they come close, if they make the playoffs, whatever, I feel like they definitely have the right mentality, and that's the first step to greatness, and they definitely have that. So now on to our next topic, which is the recap of Saints, Jaguars, and training camp in this week. So first, let's start with the game. In the first preseason game, the Saints defeated the Jaguars at TIAA Stadium in Jacksonville, 24-20 in a comeback victory for the Saints. To me, there are a lot of good things, some, so-so things, but I feel like it was definitely a positive game. Obviously, we won, but, just looking at it, watching it, a lot of good things to take out of it. So let's put some game notes and stuff, some good things to know about the game. So Drew Brees, Cam Jordan, Alex Okafor were all healthy scratches. Others missed the game because of health precautions. They probably play if it was a regular season game, but preseason, they're not going to play. So we're looking at Andrews Pete, Cam Meredith, Marcus Davenport, not to rush them back, and I think that's a good thing. And Tom Savage started at QB. He played the first half. Then Taysom Hill came in. He played the third quarter and part of the fourth quarter, and then JT Barrett finished up the fourth quarter, and actually got the game-winning drive. So that was good for them. And then just also Hill I feel like just as just a note, I feel like Hill he commanded the offense really well is what I wanted to see. Same with Savage, but just for Hill because it was his first game ever under center for the Saints, I feel like that one drive he really looked really good. I gotta say he was converting third downs, making plays, a lot of plays with his feet, had some nice throws, and I really feel like he could be a future. Maybe we don't really know yet, and I don't really know yet, but that was just a glimmer that I saw that he can be a very successful quarterback in this league. I thought that was a big game note. And then Savage, I feel like he was pretty good too. I gotta say Savage did a lot of good things. I really didn't expect much from him. I expected 0 points on the board, and to him give 10.5, I think that's fine. And usually in preseason we don't score any points without Breeze, and now we were able to score 24 without him. So I think that's really a good tidbit. And that just shows to the skill position players we have and the depth that we have. So I think that's also really good for us. And now I think we'll do a half-by-half recap of the game. So in the first half, Bortles and the Jags started out, and they came out very hot. They torched our defense, to be quite honest with you. We couldn't get any pressure. They scored a touchdown. Couldn't get any pressure. And I think that's just, because we didn't have our starting defensive ends, and I don't really take much into that. We had some nice coverages, but we couldn't, get any pressure on Bortles. So that's why they were really successful. We didn't have Cam Jordan. And I think if Cam Jordan and Okafor were there, I think we'd have much more success. But, the defense, we couldn't get off the field in the first couple drives. And, that was, to me, I'm not going to put that much into it because we didn't have, two vital pieces to our defense. But, I thought it was definitely a little troublesome. But how good we played in training camp, I feel not going to put that much into it. I feel like the next game that they play, and Jordan plays and Okafor plays, and we can't stop them, that would be a lot more worrisome for me. But now I feel like we're fine until Jordan plays because he's the best player in our defense. So, not to have him is obviously a huge, disadvantage. And then, also Okafor is really underrated. So not to have them, I don't want to put that much weight to it. Then once Cody Kessler came in after that, he had a field goal to end the first half. I mean, it was, he was pretty good out there. Our defense did all right. We, preserved them to a field goal only, so that's pretty good. But overall, the defense in the first, half was, pretty poor, I would say. But I'm not going to put that much into it because we didn't have all starters. Also the meshing because we had some bench, some starters, some second team, some first team. The chemistry there will not be perfect, and I kind of know that. So I think, we'll see next time and really see how they play against, the Cardinals, if they have Jordan and Okafor. And I think that will show a lot, to where this team is on defense. On the offensive end, Savage started, and he was a game manager, and he used his weapons, and managed the game, which is fine. He put up 10 points in the half. When he left the game, it was 10-10. So I feel like that's not bad. I mean, he drove down the field, scored some points. I mean, he just used his weapons. He used Mike Thomas, he used Kamara, he used Ingram, and he used Traquan Smith at a catch. Gim. So I feel like, he's serviceable out there. I think, can we win many games? I think we can win some games with him. He could be all right. If Breeze ever went down, I would like to try to acquire a QB, maybe Teddy Bridgewater or something. But I think he's all right for a couple games, maybe 1 or 2 games. But, after that, I don't think he could do much. He's a game manager, though, at the end of the day. If he doesn't throw the picks and stuff, he's not that bad. But, I think in the offense, it was pretty good. Exceeded my expectations. Because, again, I thought we were going to get 0 points, without Breeze. But we moved the ball down the field pretty well, too. So, it wasn't like it was, really bad. We just, stop, 3 and out, punt it. We were moving the ball. And then, I think that's just, what happens. Sometimes you get stopped, sometimes you score 3, sometimes you get in the end zone, especially when you don't have Breeze and you're starting QB. I think we played all right considering that. In the second half, I think that was really our half. Obviously, that's where we took the lead and stuff. Versus Kessler, the defense did struggle to start the second half. We gave up, a touchdown drive, to Kessler, and that really showed that, this defense the second team was definitely caught off guard a little bit, I think, by Kessler. He played really good. The running, TJ Yeldon also did really good for them. And, we couldn't get pressure on Kessler. I think we only had 1 sack on him. He played about 2 quarters, only 1. And then, right after he came out, then we got a ton of pressure. So I think that shows, too, our depth and a lot of our, deep depth. We'll get into that later. So, you just look at, the start of the second half, on defense was definitely Jaron Elliott. who, he had the 2 strip sacks also later, but, he was definitely played really good. Same with Lawrence, the defensive tackle, who had, 2 sacks as well. He only had 3 sacks in all of college and putting 2 sacks in his first, preseason game of his career. I think that's pretty impressive if you ask me. But, in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, we were down 20-10, and, the offense couldn't do much, defense couldn't do much. Taysom Hill, he played the third quarter for the offense, and, he moved the ball down the field the first drive, turnover on down, second time he had a punt, and, that really ended the third quarter for him. So he was all right in those 2 drives, but nothing special. And then the fourth quarter, and that was really our quarter. Just the defense played amazing, as I said. Elliott, Lawrence, Moulette had a really couple of nice PBUs there. That's where Harris got his 2 holdings the same quarter, but he's not on the team anymore, so that was really the only negative. And then obviously we had the strip sack by Elliott. He had 2 strip sacks, one recovered by the Saints, one recovered by the Jaguars. And now the first one, his first strip sack, really changed the game. But before he had the strip sack, our offense and Taysom Hill drive down a beautiful drive. I think it was 82 yards on 12 plays. That's 81 yards, on 12 plays. And that's really good, to see Hill do that. He really commanded the offense and really looked like he could be an NFL QB. And even if it was one drive, he, managed, the control of his emotions and stuff, and the team's emotions really calmed everyone down because they weren't playing good before. And then, they just turned it on, converted a lot of third downs. He's made some beautiful plays with his feet. He actually juked out, a linebacker for the Jaguars. So I feel like, he got into the second level, juked out a, linebacker onto the third level, had like a 20-yard run there. He was the leader in passing and the leader in rushing for this, team, the Saints. So I think he played really good in that drive. But and it ended with a 2-yard touchdown by him. Traquan Smith played really well in that drive as well. So, I think that was really good for Hill in that drive, and that showed a lot, I think, of his character and a lot of his future and a glimmer of what he can be. And then the next drive was when Elliott with the strip sack, and then Barrett came in for Hill after the strip sack, and then Jonathan Williams basically carried the Saints to a touchdown. He had a 4-yard run, but to get there, they got down to like the 10 or the 8, something like that. Boston Scott ran into the 1. Then J.T. Barrett got sacked on not a good play. That really shows J.T. Barrett's rookie abilities there. And then they handed it to Williams and scored a TD. So that's really big. And and then we took the lead, and then the final drive we stopped them, and that was that, and we got the victory. So I think that was a good game. Look, you saw a lot of good things, some, not so good things. Only like 5 or 6 penalties, and that's not bad for a preseason game, usually in the double digits first game. So it really shows the discipline of this team. And I think, it was a good win. Our depth was really good, got us the victory, and that was going to get us the victory from the start. I think I said that before the game in my preview to that game. When that guys, maybe the third stringers or second stringers, they were going to win us the game, and they did. So it was a good win, and, obviously you're feeling great when you're winning. So, happy with the victory. So, on to some training camp notes. I'll start with the defense. And Saints defensive coaches from Dennis Allen to the secondary coach Aaron Glenn have been raving about Natrell Jamerson out of Wisco. I believe he was a 6th-round pick. So, he looks like a player that I think has a ton of potential. You look at the skills he has a lot of skills, and he'll be good in the future. I think you just got to develop him a little bit. But I think, maybe even next year, maybe even the end of this year, and I think if he comes along this year, he could be a good depth piece for this team. And I think he could be a really good player. He didn't show as much in the first 2 weeks, but he's really came on once the calendar turned to August, and he's been really good since then. So I think that's a really good sign. There's really nothing new on the defensive end. Davenport's coming back from the injury, but the Saints are really, they're inching him back. They don't want him to rush him and have him get hurt again or something, because last year they had the same thing with Lattimore. They didn't rush him, and obviously we know what happened with Lattimore. So they're doing the same approach with Davenport, which you got to respect. With that, the offense also looks like they're back on track. Breeze looks great. The O-line looks great. Running backs and wide receivers have looked amazing. The offense looked amazing. It looks like on the O-line, Josh Liberius and Jermon Bushrod, veteran, looks like they're going to fill Senio Calmente's spot from last year that looked like, they could do everything, basically. That kind of role that Calmente did last year. I think... and then you look at just position battles. Wide receiver is a big one, which we still haven't known. Traquan Smith's shooting up, though. And if he can pass Ginn, I think he has a shot. At the end of this preseason. We'll see how he does in the second and third game. But he's got a shot, I think. And Meredith's not playing on the practice field right now, so Traquan's getting a lot of opportunities, and he's doing really good. Running back to spot to take Ingram's 4-game suspension, I think is really up in air. We don't really know. I think we'll get onto that a little later. And then also just another kind of battle is the kick return spot. It looks like Tommy Lee Lewis and Brandon Tate really, looks like they're commanding that spot, and maybe Boston Scott as well. But I think Kamara down the stretch of the season will get that role if we're in contention. So I think that's all for training camp notes. And now on to a preview of the Cardinals Saints in the Dome. So our first game in the Dome. So we're hoping Brees starts this one, or at least get some work. I hope he gets like one series, just to get him some game work. And also it seems like Davenport may play, Meredith may play, Cam Jordan probably will play, well with Alex Okafor. So now I'm just going to do what to watch for. And I think, one, how does the offense play with Drew Brees under center? And I think, with everyone now at full strength, we're going to see what, this offense got, even if it's not, obviously with the play calling not being very vanilla. I think you really see what they got and the talent that they got. Obviously, now we have Brees under center, not Tom Savage. So I think that's really, we're going to see what this offense got and, really prove that they're back on track. We'll see what Brees has got. And I think, that, this whole offense, see how it works. And I think that's really going to be, vital to see in this game, to see if we can put up points and a lot of points early, with Drew Brees. I think that would be, really thing to watch for. And now onto our second thing to watch for is how the defense, play with the defensive line fully intact. So, if Cam Jordan plays, Alex Okafor plays. And I think it's the first real test for the defense with everyone healthy, everyone intact, see how this defense does. Are they going to play with the same tenacity as they did in training camp, or are they going to play like they did against, the Jaguars in that first series? So I think this is a really big test. So like if they're good here, I'm fine. I'm very comfortable with this defense. I think they could still be a top 10 defense. At least average, at most top 10, maybe even top 5. And I could see that jump being made. But if we slip up again, and that's 2 weeks in a row, I think we start to worry about where this defense is. And I think, it's going to really start looking at, we're going to have to look at, the third preseason game is going to be huge for this team. But, if they play good, I think we're right back on track, as with all the starters. I think it'll be really good. Because, the bench players didn't play bad. Our depth didn't play bad. It was really our starters, gave up 10 points. At half the points were given up in one quarter, basically. So that's obviously not the best, what you want early. And then also, our third thing is that, see if the play calls are going to be more exotic. See if that, what are we going to get, this next game. This is really now, it's not your dress rehearsal, but it's definitely, coming towards that dress rehearsal, and you're going to get a little more plays. The rust is coming off, we want less penalties, more fluidity in the plays, see if running backs can hit holes better, and that's what we're really looking for early. And see if we could be just a better disciplined team. I talked about the penalties, but even blocking assignments. I think that's, see if we can be disciplined in that way, and, see if it can really improve from the first game. So then that's what we're looking for, just improvement on the first game, improvement from training camp, and I think that this team's very capable of doing that. And also, the fourth thing to watch for is all the position battles. So first, looking after Brees plays, if Brees plays, but I think he probably will. But, you're just looking, it's going to be Hill or Savage on this, we're looking at the second running back, because I think that's a huge hole. Who's going to take that spot? Jonathan Williams, he has another great game. I think he got to give him more shots with the first team. I would like it to be West or Vereen, just because they're veterans. It's good veteran presence to have. But, nothing against the young guys. If they play better, I'd give them the spot. But, and also the wide receiver, all 4 spots, where are they going to fall? We know Mike Thomas number 1, but after that, we don't really know. Will Traquan Smith, still be playing well and stuff like that? Will Ginn, get up to his level? So I think that's really big. Tight ends, I just want to see more to tight ends. Hopefully Ben Watson plays. And, Dan Arnold's been playing pretty well. But, Deion Yelder at this point, he looks like he's going to get cut. I don't even think he's a practice squad player. He's not looked good. He was supposed to be, he's not looked bad, but nothing special, And everyone thought he was going to be the breakout player. Just hasn't been that. And, Dan Arnold's really been that player, and he's been really good. So I think that's something to look for, tight ends to be a little more of, a threat for this team. I think that would be really big. And then O-line depth, just want to see that. I think, we're still looking at, is it going to be Liberius? Is it going to be Bushrod? Both. I think it will be both at the end of the day. And then on the defense, the second defensive end spot, if Davenport plays, but I don't think he even will play Friday. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully he plays by a third preseason game. I think he kind of has to. And, or Okafor. Okafor will probably play too. The linebacker positioning was a little funky to start off. They had Alex Anzalone communicating with the defense with Klein and Demario Davis. But, we'll see. It really should be Davis communicating. I really think that's the way it's going to be. I think it was just kind of like experiment, see what Anzalone can do. But I think we should go back to Davis there. And then also, there's nothing really battles in the secondary. So, That's all the battles. And the fifth thing is, how's our depth play? So our depth played great in game one. We'll continue that, and I think that's a big thing to look for. Taysom Hill. You're looking at Jaron Elliott. Lawrence, Arthur Mulet. Traquan Smith. And you're looking at other players. How is Marcus Williams going to play in his first game? Cornerback Marcus Williams and Nelson, the new guys, and also Jonathan Williams. So I feel like you're really going to see where this depth plays out with the depth chart and stuff like that. I think we're going to really see after this game is where everything's really looking up, because then you're going to start thinking about who's going to get cut. So I think that's definitely something to look at, and this is a big vital part for this depth to see that who's going to stay, who's really been successful, and who's going to get cut. So now on to players to watch in this game on the Saints versus the Cardinals. So first, Drew Brees. I think this, how is he going to, handle that in-game format at 39? I mean, I think he'll be fine, but, you always want to see just for sure that he's healthy, he's ready to go, his arm strength just as good, and you just want to see that. You want to for sure know, going into the season. To me, running backs, it's Jonathan Williams, running back, and then also linebacker Jaron Elliott. Just can they repeat what they did last week and really, solidify that, they're going to be good, and they're going to be on this team. They're going to play their way on this team, and I think this is going to be a big, way for them to continue. And also, all the starting secondary, can they bounce back after, game one being a little shaky, and, can they continue what they did in training camp and last season? So I think that's really big too, and I think they'll be able to if they get, some type of pass rush. There was 0 pass rush. So now with some pass rush, I think we'll be okay there. Traquan Smith, same thing as Elliott and Williams. Can he really, copy what he did in training camp, copy what he did in game one, because he was really good, and I think he has a lot to look forward to. And look at, Hill and Savage, who's going to win, and, who's going to win those battles. Also, I want to look for some, new guys that we just signed. I mean, Tate, Malcolm Floyd, we haven't seen yet, so I'd like to see him out in the field. And Marcus Williams, the cornerback, and Nelson, I'd like to see them too as well. And just a little spotlight on the enemy, the Cardinals, to see what are we really up against, and what we got to do against them. So, how are we going to do against, Josh Rosen? His first game stats, he was 6 for 13, which was a little shaky, but he had 66 yards and a touchdown, no picks. Can we fluster him? Can we force him to make turnovers, which we really need to do? We've been preaching, make turnovers, get touchdowns, stuff like that. So, I think it's going to be a good test, and, probably a little easier of a test to get a turnover off of a rookie and stuff like that, who, was 6 for 13 in his first game, which is not efficient at all. Can we contain David Johnson when he plays, coming off an injury, which I think, it's a big thing against running backs. There's a lot of good running backs in our division. So I think, it's really big if we can contain a really good running back right from the start. And then also, just the third thing is, can, the Cardinals additions and subtractions, can they mesh a little more, and can we, break into that mesh and make it a little harder for them? I think that's really big to see as well. So with that preview now finished, I think we should get on to some Who Dat Nation fan questions. So first, from Saints fan since 83, he said, who do you think needs to still make the biggest impact going into preseason week number 2? And then also, how much will the starters play in week 2? So first answer, I'm just going to go, one on the offense, one on the defense. I mean, one on the offense, kind of like a group of players, and on the defense, the actual player. So we'll start with the offense. It's just going to be one of the running backs are going to take Ingram's spot. I want to see something from one of them. Even Jonathan Williams, that, I want to see that he can, take, that next step kind of, because, he was, not many people thought he was going to make this team. So now he came up, had a really good preseason week 2. He's got to bounce, not bounce back, but, build off of it, and make that even better. And I think that's going to be really big for him. I mean, I would just love, as I said before, one of Vereen or West to just take control, really have a great game, in week 2, week 3, and really take that role, because I would love to have a veteran there. I think that's really big to have a veteran opposite Kamara. But, if it's a young player, I don't think it matters. Also, Boston Scott, get him more than one carry. If he's really going to be in this running for the second role, get him more than one shot at that, job and only one carry. So I think, you got to get more. I mean, you just look at all the running. Number one, our leading rusher, was a quarterback. Was Taysom Hill. So I think, you're just looking at to, get running backs chances in this game, and I think that's going to be really big. Look at the first game, Jonathan Williams led the way with, 4 rushes, 26 yards TD. Terrence West had 5 rushes for 10 yards, You look at, Vereen had 3 rushes for 5 yards. Scott had the 1 rush for 7 yards. And then Trey Edmonds had 1 rush for 1 yard. That was a first down. But, so I think that's kind of, it was what it was. Everyone got split up. I mean, that's only between them. It's only 15 carries, 14 carries. That's what it is. So, you look at 14 carries, I don't even think they break, 50 yards in those 14 carries. That's not good. So I think, you got to see which one of them is going to stand out. Right now it's Jonathan Williams, but, he's going to have to do it more than one time, especially because he wasn't even supposed to make the team before that. So he's definitely going to need more than one showing. That's for any of these guys, This is huge. This week's going to be really big for that. And I think those are the players that really still need to prove it. And then also on the defense, it's going to be Marcus Williams, I think. If he plays in week 2, he's a lot to prove because he hasn't really shown anything yet. We haven't really seen him on the field. So he's got to get healthy and show all those physical attributes that he has. And, if he's not 100% healthy, obviously don't play him. But, he's got to be healthy to progress and get better. And I think he needs at least one preseason game to do that. And throughout the season, he'll probably get a little better. I'll probably take him a couple games before he gets into really mid-season shape. But, they did the same thing with Lattimore. They didn't rush him back during preseason, and obviously it really worked. They're going to do the same thing here. So, I think you guys got to take and see. But, if he plays, I want to see a lot from him. I don't know if he will, but, if he plays, I want to see a lot. So, also now to his second part of the question is how much do I think, the starters will play? I'm going to say, I think the starters are going to play about a quarter and a half. Probably some starters will play, most of the second quarter. Some will play not as much. I think Breeze probably won't play that as much. But about a quarter and a half. I think that's usually regular for a second preseason game. I really hope Breeze, Okafor, Jordan all play. And, just to get a quarter under their belts. And then probably the other players that played, quarter and a half, maybe the whole half. But I don't think the whole half. I don't really want to see them the whole half. Especially for the, third preseason game. But just a quarter, get it under their belt. Get Breeze 2 solid drives. I want 2 solid drives, 2 hopefully scoring drives, knock on wood on that. But 2 nice drives, And I think that, I think that's really big for this team. And also you want to get the bench players a lot of time to, play, get some depth, work in there and really get, our bench players some time to play and, iron out those battles, especially at QB, other positions. So I think that's really big as well. So now on to our second question asked by Don'tGoR9, and he said, how much weight do you put in the preseason in comparison to training camp? So I think preseason games 2 and 3, which we're coming up on, are vital. It's very big for the season because, you're playing against another team, and that team is kind of game planning for you. They're using, less vanilla game plans that are really coming in, and they're, it's kind of like their dress rehearsals, as I said before, against you, and you're doing the same thing. In training camp, there's no dress rehearsals, and you're really showing a little more, and you're seeing that you can play against other teams. It gives you a lot of confidence. If you can beat a team, in their dress rehearsal against your dress rehearsal, and you can play very good against them, I think that gives you a lot of confidence for the season. I think that's the most vital part. These next 2 games, if they play really well, I think that's huge. Obviously, if you can't win them, but you play really well in the first half, that's very good. Obviously, I would love to win the games, but I think that, if you just play really good, play with them, beat them in that first half or however long the starters play, that's going to be really good and really helpful for us. And, I think and then you just look at game 1 and 4, and to me that's like the same as training camp. You can vanilla plays, maybe even a little less vanilla plays, but it is against a opponent, which is really nice, and that really evens out, some of the vanilla-ness of those games. But, to me, it's just getting your reps in against other teams. I think that's really big, and I think that's, even 1 and 4 rivals to training camp, and then 2 and 3, I think are, I think they mean more. I put more weight into them instead of, the, 1 and 4 preseason games and the, the training camp, because really the first is a lot like training camp as, you're just getting your guys reps. Everyone's getting the rust off and everything. Game 4 is like just getting all your depth pieces reps and, in that game. So, but training camps also, that's places where you're really going to work on the play calls and stuff and, sets that you're going to use in actual games, that you don't want other teams seeing. So that's obviously really, really big as well. And then, so, that's a vital part of training camp, really, to get, your sets with other people knowing them. So I think that's really big as well. But, I just to summarize, 2 and 3 are, I think, bigger than training camp. 1 and 4, maybe a little less, the same. And training camp's obviously really big, too. I don't want to poo-poo training camp. But, I feel like playing against another team is very, very vital, for any team. So I just want to say thanks to Don'tGoR9 and Saints fans since '83, for asking questions. And I think now it's time to wrap up this podcast. So first, I just want to say some really exciting news that I'm excited to share now is that, I'm glad to say that, our podcast is now going to be expanding, to Saints News Network, Saints Podcast website, where a lot of popular Saints podcasts are posted, and I think that's just really big for us. I'll post the description of the website in there so you can see other Saints podcasters you haven't seen before, but I think that's just really big, to be put in a group with other amazing Saints podcasters and contributors and stuff like that. To me, that just, it warms my heart that I can get, to be with them in the same company as them, and just to be able to get there that quick is just, to me, it's extremely, heartwarming, as I said before. I think that's just that, people are watching me, enjoying me, and then are also expanding and telling other people, getting more followers to the podcast. I think that's just really, really big for us, and just, I'm very excited for the future, and I'm honored to say that, this website, that I'm on this website, and with all these great company, with all these great podcasts. So I just want to say thanks, to Saints News Network and the Saints Podcast website. They do great stuff over there, and, I'm just glad to be a part of it and, contribute. And speaking to other great content, I just want to give a shout out to We Are the Who Dat Nation, who's also given me multiple shout outs. I just want to say that, he does a great job at really, illustrating what a real, diehard Saints fan feels. I really think he does a really good job of that. And very entertaining as well. He knows a lot about the Saints, and he's really excited to, tell a lot of people about it. I know he's not doing it for the views or anything. He's just doing it to show the opinions of a Saints fan. And I think that's really good too. I mean, I was on his live stream a couple days ago, and he just, he was, great time to chat with, and I had a really fun time enjoying that. So I just want to give him a shout out because, he does some great work over there as well as, Saints News Network, who also does really good. I watch them, listen to them, and read their content, every night. So I think that's just, to be on something that they're sponsoring is really big for me. And then, just for this whole podcast, to be able to network with a lot of other Saints, podcasts, shows, websites. To me, that's what I wanted out of this, to really, connect with other Saints fans, talk about the Saints with other Saints fans, and just, to really, be in tune with the fan base. Because, before, obviously I wasn't out of tune with the fan base, but I think I felt like I could have been connected more, and now I feel like really connected and really, part of the family. As before, I feel maybe not felt like an outsider, but felt like, a Saints fan in New York. Now I feel really like, a Saints fan that's just a Saints fan and really talks to a lot of other Saints fans. And just, even, obviously there's some Saints fans in New York. It's obviously a very populated place with a lot of football fans, and obviously a lot of them are Saints fans as well. But, to really feel like now really part of the community and part of the family, it's really heartwarming to me. And just, it's great. So, also, if you heard me for about now 35 minutes rambling on about the Saints and you enjoy it, please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Podomatic. There, we are at the Who Dat Discussion, at the Who Dat Dis on Twitter, and then on Instagram at the Who Dat Discussion as well, And then on YouTube, we are at the Who Dat Discussion. Please click that notification icon. Please comment, and then we're also on iTunes and Google Play. There, please leave a review. It's really helpful for me to what to improve on, what I know I'm doing good. That's really big for me, and also expanding the podcast. And then also, please subscribe to both of those accounts as well. And it's being the 9th episode. Obviously, we're expanding, but we've really done a lot the first 9 episodes, and it's really been, this adventure has been great. I just want to thank everyone who's watched all of these episodes. So I just wanted to say thank you. Let's prove them right, and who dat?